Welcome to Plato's Academy. I'm Nick Plato,
I'm Alex Plato.
and what we're trying to do here is inspire a life of the mind so that we can think higher thoughts about the good, the true, and the beautiful.
Preach it, bro.
So if you like it,
Subscribe
or share,
or all the above.
All the time.
You're kind of got to be in your bonnet about a certain topic. You've been, talking to me about it, and I thought maybe you could talk more about it, and I could learn more about what you were saying. And I thought, hey, that was a perfect conversation. That was a perfect dialogue, and it fits for what we're doing. So, I'd like you to go ahead and take it over right now. You had a certain way you wanted to sort of set up your conversation that I thought was fun. So, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, first of all, tea is really good. I like tea. Yeah. So I'm going to have a little bit of swig of that. Yeah. No, I was thinking, Jordan Peterson, is very popular. A lot of people listen to him. I've heard him a lot. He's very inspirational. He's gotten so much dialogue going. I mean, he's kind of a Socrates, a Plato of the age, I think. And I know he wrote 12 Rules for Life. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking that is good stuff. Yes. I mean, I love Make Your Damn Bed, the whole idea behind the whole thing. I think that just make your damn bed, that's it, was very successful. Yeah. But the 12 rules are great. I know a lot of people have read them, and we need to interact more with Jordan, I think. I don't know if we can get him in here into the studio.
Maybe we could get him. I mean, I don't know what we need, 80, 100 grand to get it. Maybe you could have a conversation. Maybe have 10 minutes with him for 100 grand.
John, maybe. I don't know if you can work on that, but get Jordan Peterson in here would be great. Yeah. So we can have some questions for him and whatnot. Yeah, pull some strings. You can do that. But I was thinking of another guy, and he has one rule. And he talks about 12 steps.
Wow.
So Jordan Peterson has
one rule, 12 steps.
Yeah, and he has 12 rules. But this guy had one rule and 12 steps. And he is pretty important.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
important?
And so important. I mean, I would say Jordan Peterson wouldn't be Jordan Peterson without this guy.
What would he be without this guy?
I have no idea. Possibly a slave to the Mongol Empire, or I don't know.
Maybe just a hapless farmer, maybe some wandering nomad.
Yeah, I don't really know.
He probably wouldn't be educated, have a culture.
Potentially Islamic. I'm not sure.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Right. So who is this guy that then Jordan Peterson, being the Jordan Peterson we know of, is this civilized, intelligent, psychological, sort of philosophical, theological?
I would say he was really, really successful, being as he's basically the father of Europe.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And
we're talking about the patron saint of Europe right now.
The patron saint of Europe.
Boom.
Yeah.
Saint Benedict.
Yeah, Saint Benedict. Yeah.
Awesome. So without Saint Benedict, we wouldn't have any of this culture.
Absolutely.
Right, because he's the patron of Europe, and right, the Catholic Church built Western civilization.
That's right.
Saint Benedict is the key player in that, his monastic rule.
Yep. One rule right here. This is it. This bad
boy.
That
entire little book.
This little tiny book.
Wow.
So he's super efficient. Like we think of the Technium and how wonderful technology. This founded hundreds of communities, transformed all of Europe into what we know of today.
And the kind of tradition that produced that, the Catholic Church and the Catholic faith, and then the culture that was formed out of that. You just imagine this is like a hub, right, of ideas and life, of applied Catholic culture.
This is applied Catholic culture.
Right there.
All the wonderful Catholic theology that we know and love and cherish.
Boiled down.
The Trinity, the Incarnation, the mysteries of free will and God's sovereignty.
Yes.
How do you live that out? One rule.
Wow.
And I'm not boasting that he's on our team.
Yeah.
But I'm boasting that he's on our team.
I understand.
Yeah. Okay. And so I want to share a little bit from Saint Benedict's rule. I've been reading this. I have a spiritual a director, and he's a Benedictine monk and priest, and he gives me homework. And so I've been reading this, and I was very surprised and pleasantly surprised, but also challenged because to talk about humility is scary. And so I wanted to start by just saying, not the 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson, but the 12 Steps of Humility by Saint Benedict.
Humility is so interesting. Because when I even think of that concept, it's like a confrontational concept, right? Because when you think about it sort of as an idea and you talk about it, you can kind of nominally understand it and assent to it and talk, humility is important, humility is a virtue. But then when it comes and hits home, then you're like, oh my gosh, what do I actually have to do in order to do this? It's like the prayer for patience. It's like a confrontation. That word confronts you with yourself.
Yes.
And so it's one of those words that we have to start out with. And we have to realize we have nothing, right, compared to this beautiful idea and this virtue, what it is, and we're not there.
And all of us who are trying to live the Christian life, my Protestant brothers and sisters, Catholics, all of us trying to live the Christian life. And any prayer for humility is like asking God to hit you with a divine 2x4.
It's scary.
Because
Like
you deserve it.
It's
like,
scary.
I need a gut punch.
Yeah.
And so that's what this is. And I was thinking of Dietrich von Hildebrand, who I
Yes.
love so much.
Me too.
And, the fundamental Christian attitude is this willingness to change, this humility,
Yes.
to have a soft heart, to be
Yes.
formed.
Can I say one more thing about
Yeah.
humility that
I guess.
So when
guess I'll give you permission,
remember
bro.
back when we were Anglicans and we had the Saint Augustine prayer book.
Yeah.
And it had the examination of conscience in there.
Yes, I do.
Which is really great. I highly recommend that to anybody if you can find that online. Check it out. Super awesome language. The old school language of the virtues and vices helps you understand your moral psychology with real serious moral depth words like humility. But I remember the way it defined pride, right? Pride isn't like me exalting myself above another human being. Like imagine people on a basketball court, and, like you dunk on somebody's head, and you get over and
dominate.
Right? So that is a kind of arrogance and pride, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the theological vice of pride,
Right.
Right? The deadly vice of pride is thinking of yourself not under God, submitted to God, but like equal to or above God. That is way different than just the arrogance of one man over another man.
And of
that's
course,
certainly a vice, but it's not the same level.
Yeah.
So humility isn't me thinking myself under other human beings. It's me thinking of myself under God. And so that sort of is another way in which the word is a sort of confrontation, right? It's a picture of what you're not.
Yeah, and if you hear what you just said about putting yourself in the place of God or putting yourself equal, and you're like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty much a sign that you do that.
Yes.
Because we all do that, because in original sin and concupiscence, we've got this fallen nature. We do. We don't want to submit.
I think the best way that the best example of how we do that is we just forget about God. We just live our lives as if he's not there.
As if he's
and,
not
and
there.
then when it comes up about
Systemic
him, I
atheism.
believe in him. I believe in him. Oh yeah. Yeah, I believe in him. I go to church, right? I believe the things. I believe in God the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. Of course.
Check.
Right, but when we forget to practice the presence of God. Remember, we've talked about that in the past. And so to me, that is the first mark of I'm not humble. I'm not practicing the presence of God. So it is a confrontation, and we should take it as that every way, which is the first step to being humbled, right?
Yeah.
Being humiliated.
Yeah.
Recognizing that I am not living up, right? I am criticizable. I am blameworthy.
Well, look at how he starts. This is chapter 7.
Yeah, set me up.
Of Saint Benedict's rule. Chapter 7 on humility. Brothers, divine scripture calls us, saying, whoever exalts himself shall be humbled. Whoever humbles himself shall be exalted. So the scripture, the foundation of this entire idea from the scriptures, our entire society is built on exalting ourselves. We exalt ourselves with social media. We exalt ourselves with the pictures. We exalt ourselves with the story. We exalt ourselves in our institutions. We exalt ourselves in everything.
Yeah. And then when we achieve success, it's because of us.
Yeah.
Right. It's our and so we earned it. So we deserve it.
Yeah. In saying this, therefore, it shows us that every exaltation is a kind of pride, which the prophet indicates he has shunned, saying, Lord, my heart is not exalted. My eyes are not lifted up, and I have not walked in the ways of the great, nor gone after marvels beyond me. We could say a lot about that, but keep going. I'm going to keep going just to get to the steps, because a lot of people want that. And again, not trying to prescribe things in life, but I would say St. Benedict's prescriptions on how to live a holy life is something we should rely on and remember. Even though there's lots of contemporary books that are great, and not racking on Jordan Peterson, but this is better. All right. So he says, if we want to reach the highest summit of humility, if we desire to attain speedily that exaltation in heaven to which we climb by the humility of this present life, then by our ascending actions we must set up that ladder on which Jacob in a dream saw angels ascending and descending. Without doubt, this descent and ascent can signify only that we descend by exaltation and ascend by humility. Great paradox. Now the ladder erected is our life on earth. And if we humble our hearts, the Lord will raise it to heaven. So that's how he starts
so
off.
fundamental.
Beautiful.
So fundamental. The whole thing we talked about, how do we attain hope in this world, right? Our hope is for the next world, right? So that makes so much sense. What's the fundamental attitude? Humility. And it says, I love this statement, if you humble yourself, you shall be exalted. Who will exalt you? Somebody else, not yourself. God.
Yeah.
It's up to God. It's all up to God. So just, trust in him. Right, submit to him, and he will exalt you. You have to trust him.
We have to trust that this is the way he set it up. And so the first step of humility.
This is the way.
This is the way. The Mandalore.
Yeah.
The first step of humility, then, is that a man keeps the fear of God always before his eyes. So that's the first step. We have to recognize that God is real. God exists. God is here. God is present. We will be judged by according to what we've done, right? And so remembering that, not just a fear as in I'm scared, but a fear of respect.
Respect, awe.
Yes.
Right.
Reverence.
Right.
So that's the first
Always
step.
demands your attention.
Yep. And I'm not going to go into each step details because honestly, this is so accessible.
Yes.
Anybody listening, I would highly recommend you could read the chapter on humility in 5 to 10 minutes. This would be something you could totally...
And then contemplate it the rest of your life.
And you could contemplate it the rest of your life. Yeah. So the first step is to always keep the fear of God before your eyes. The second step of humility is that a man loves not his own will, nor takes pleasure in the satisfaction of his desires. Rather, he shall imitate by his actions and sayings of the Lord. I have not come to do my will, but the will of him who sent me. So that's the second step, is to do not our will and our desires, not focus on our life or fulfilling our desires. Like even today, who's ever listening, wherever you're listening to us right now, it's not about us fulfilling our desires right now, mine. Right. It's about, are we doing God's will? Is this right now in this place, talking to all the people listening?
Right.
Is this God's will?
Right.
And is it God's will for your life to listen to this right now?
Yeah.
Or something else God's will?
You brought up a good point. I just want to bring in something because a lot of students get confused about this, I think, and I have too, and it's easy to, because we think, well, it's about God's will, which means it must be not about my desires, meaning my desires are irrelevant.
Okay, yeah.
Meaning I should never listen to them. They're irrelevant and God doesn't care about them, right? As opposed to my desires have priority. My desires, right, are the leader. Right? No, God might use our desires to show us what he desires, because he might be like a good father who says, you know what, I want you to do what you desire today. And he kind of lets us go for us to learn and teach us. So we always have to be aware of him as father teaching us. But it doesn't mean shun our desires and not care about our desires.
Yeah. Or to get rid of our desires.
Yes,
that would
or
be
to get
a
rid of our
Buddhistic
desires. That's back to that Kantian thing we were saying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's got to be difficult. It's got to somehow be suffering or difficult against your desires to be valuable or worth anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that in.
That's a lot of stuff we could talk about there, but let's keep going on the steps. So step 1 is keep the fear of God. Step 2 is to think of God's will, not our will, but God's will. I come to do God's will. The third step is that man submits to his superior in obedience to God. Obviously, this was written to monks, but it has great wisdom for all of us in our life as lay people. Right, is that our superior, that's people in authority over us.
Right. And we all have authority in different areas in different ways in life. We're all, there's unequal relationships. And like maybe when you're talking about Dante, like we have in the past, like you're my superior. Yeah. You've read Dante all the way through. You've studied him. You taught him 4, 5, 6 times, right? The whole thing. I've only taught the Inferno once. Yeah. Right. So you're my superior. So we're all inferiors and superiors in all different ways. Great. Not just positions.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Right. But we stand in those different roles.
That's really good, bro.
So read the rule again, more the step. I mean,
it's the third step is that a man submits to his superior in all obedience for the love of God, imitating the Lord, of whom the apostle says he became obedient even to death. Yeah. So I think as a married life, it says in the scriptures to submit yourself, to submit to one another in a marriage. Yes. So I have to submit to my wife sometimes. Yes. She has to submit to me. It's a back and forth.
Yes. You have to listen. You have to take counsel. You have to do what they say because you recognize they have a better opinion.
Children have to submit to their parents. Students have to submit to their teachers.